And we are back. It is Wake Up Woodward. Look at the guy, man. Look at this legend. That was from his days of covering University of Michigan basketball. Hopefully they give you a lot more good days to be able to cover. Hopefully this thing is on the right way, man, on the right tracks. But we got to get the legend back on. But before we do, I need you guys to make sure you give this guy his proper drum roll chat. Family, definitely, wherever you are, and I need you guys in the Woo Crew. Let's welcome Rod back. It's our Woodward Pistons segment. Hey, yo! Shout out and welcome to the legend Detroit News, Rod Beard. What up, though, brother? One of the last few to cover the Pistons while they were actually a playoff team, huh?
Oh,
so long ago. If we're gonna call that the playoffs,
right?
Either getting swept by LeBron or swept by Giannis. Either way, it's. I guess.
And you know what? We got to kick things off as always with Rod's thoughts, but we are talking about Jalen Duren today. We got to get into the numbers, got to get into what we want to see this guy improve on as well, and talk about just how important he is to the Detroit Pistons, not just now, but also their future as well. But let's kick things off with Rod's thoughts.
Just a quick thought on Steph Curry signing a $62 million extension for how many years?
One.
But he gets to stay with the Warriors, and that's presumably going to be for the rest of his career. But we talk about how teams and players move around so much because of free agency, but it's good to see that they committed to him. Clay was a tough choice for them, but at least and it looks like Draymond is going to finish up with them too, but it looks like with Steph there that you're seeing a player complete his career with the same team.
Yep. And
superstar player complete his career with the same team.
Yes, and
It relates to a player that they said they compared him to, and Shawn Kemp, having that level of potential. And that's where with Jalen Duren, there's a lot that we still don't know about Jalen Duren, the player. We've seen largely what he is based off of his kind of natural, raw abilities. I don't know how much development he's actually gotten as it relates to tuning his skill sets towards what will make him successful in the NBA, which is something that you just alluded to as well. But this is a big year for Jalen Duren, and one in which I believe, out of all the young players, he is the second most important one, just behind Jalen Duren. And then if we're going to include the entire team, I believe he is the second most important player on this entire roster, Rod.
Yeah, I think so. And Cade's effectiveness, we've talked about the three-point shooting that he needs, but he also needs that rim runner. He also needs that big to try to set those screens and to be effective that way. He's going to be effective in ways that we just don't necessarily see on the stat sheet immediately unless you start drilling down into the stats a little bit more. But I think it's going to be very critical to Cade's success and thus the Pistons' success that Duren have a successful season this year.
Yeah, definitely, because obviously we've covered this with some of the other young Pistons players, including with Cade Cunningham. There's a decision that has to be made with Jalen Duren. Over the next 2 off seasons, there has to be a decision made on if you're bringing this guy back and what you're doing as it relates to paying him. Are you paying him like Cade, or are you paying him more akin to an Isaiah Stewart type? And based on the expectation and where you believe he can get, you're going to have to pay him. But with that said, and I believe that Jalen Duren is the type of worker that will get this done, he has to make some major improvements in some big areas. Namely, generally people will just throw out defense. But when I look at when I look a little bit closer, man-to-man defense, in my opinion right now, or one-on-one defense, you can be marginal. But where teams absolutely need it, especially with helping your team, is that help side defense, which is something that we saw our great Pistons teams. They were great at that. That connected defense where it seemed like they were just one mind out there. And when you look at some of the rebuilds from the Houston Rockets to the Orlando Magic, it's not just kind of the vets they were able to put around the young players, but that players like Alperen Sengun took major steps forward. Major steps. Not just offensively, but defensively. Sengun went from 116 defensive rating to 110 from one year to the next. And that bolstered, in my opinion, the Rockets' success as well as his own personal success. It's where I want to see Duren take the biggest leap forward, because guys like Nick Claxton, Sengun, and others in his peer group, in his age group, they've taken a leap forward, and it has been bolstered by the defense.
Right. I think defense is a team concept also, and this is where JB might, Bickerstaff might help them the most, is getting a scheme that works. As a big, you often get exposed when there's very little help up top, and those guards are getting inside. You've got to help. You step up, bounce pass, and your man is dunking the ball. So team defense up top and on the perimeter is just going to help him immensely. But it's got to be a connected chemistry between them that they figure out ways to be able to help each other. And part of that is communication. Part of that is just instinct. As a big man, you sort of figure some of those things out. But it's being in the right scheme and knowing how to execute that's going to help too.
Yeah, definitely. I just want to be able to kind of highlight some of the stats here. The jumps that Alperen Sengun took year to year, and he's entering year 4. Jalen Duren's entering year 3. Sengun went from 9.6 points a game and 5.5 rebounds to 15 points the next season and 9 rebounds to 21.1 points per game and 6.5 rebounds or 9.3 rebounds per game, 5 assists, 1.2 steals, 7 blocks. We talk about, can our big man get to that 2 stocks a game? He did this all while being efficient, and like you stated, he's not really focused on three-point shooting. The percentage is not that great for him, 29% from beyond the arc, but everywhere else, he put in the work and he made that type of a leap. To just kind of give you the other side of this thing with Jalen Duren, and I also have some stats predictions for him. His year-to-year jump, he went from 9 points to 13.8. He's making a similar trajectory leap as Alperen Sengun, and I'm hoping we can see Jalen Duren make that type of jump as well. I think he can make it on the offensive side, especially playing with a guy like Cade, especially with the rebounds. He's up to 11.6 per game. Stat predictions, and this is where I want to be able to ask you, Rod, what do you believe Jalen Duren needs to do this year to reach that expectation and prove that he deserves what's seemingly going to be a big contract for the 2024-2025 season, as according to Basketball Reference?
And getting some easy ones is going to help that 16.3 points come to fruition.
Yeah, and most importantly, and this is just to kind of wrap up the conversation on Jalen Duren, we've already covered Jaden Ivey, and next will be Asar Thompson as we talk about kind of a conversation on strengths, weaknesses, and what they need to do to really meet expectation, because you need these guys. The Houston Rockets, we often give the credit to Fred VanVleet and Dylan Brooks, but the numbers we just read off from Sengun, those are incredible, both on the offensive side and on the defensive side. And I do believe Jalen Duren can get there, but as much as we love our guys, he has to get there. And the number one thing I believe he needs to improve on more than anything, offensively or defensively, is his fitness. Too many times we're seeing Jalen Duren huffing and puffing, and I do wonder how much those injuries that he's had kind of get in the way or disrupt his ability to kind of get a rhythm, get his lungs, and get his kind of stamina beneath him. I believe that as he improves in that regard, I believe we'll see his defensive intensity that we see in the first quarter stick around for longer in those games.
Yep, absolutely. I think that the fitness is important for bigs, especially, that you've got to be able to stay on the court, but to be able to help out. And again, when you get in the fourth quarter of long games, you've got to be a horse. You've got to be the one who's really executing down the stretch there for those.
Yep. Hey, chat family as well, let me know what you guys think. What is a successful season for Jalen Duren this year? I believe he needs to have a jump similar to Cade Cunningham, an all-star type where you can see this is all-star quality. He's just at the cusp of it. That's what I'm expecting from Duren, but most importantly, his fitness and his help side defense is where I'm hoping Jalen Duren does make that next leap, because the Detroit Pistons need it, and Jalen Duren needs it as well. Any last words, Rod, or any gentlemen? I think that's
No, I'm all good.
Hey, that sums it up. Rod Beard, as always, the legend, the GOAT. Thank you for giving us your time. A couple segments. You brought the heat with the Lions. You brought the heat with Michigan football. You brought the heat with the Pistons as well as that Eastern Michigan zip-up. I love it. Thank you, Rod Beard, for your time. Detroit News Sports Editor-in-Chief. You guys make sure you go over there and support them too. Great people, great professionals. Thank you, brother.
Thank you, Rod.
Thanks. Have a good show.
Hey, and you know what? Now more than ever, it is critical for you to have your insurance reviewed. Swiss Insurance will make sure your current carrier is not slipping in any